These temples were not just places of worship, they were the centers of cultural, economic, and social life of the ancient peoples. Today, I'm counting down 15 of the most amazing ancient temples in the world. Let's start with number 15, the Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple in India. The Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple, which is located in Srirangam in Tamil Nadu, India, is one of the most important Hindu temples dedicated to Lord Vishnu. This temple is a vibrant center of cultural and historical importance and is devoted to Ranganatha, a reclining form of Lord Vishnu, being the largest functioning Hindu temple complex in the world, spanning about 156 acres. It is a masterpiece of Dravidian architecture, which uses gateway towers, intricately carved pillars, and expansive courtyards. The main entrance tower is really impressive. Standing at a height of 236 feet or about 72 meters, it's one of the tallest temple towers in Asia. The structure, which was completed in 1987 after several centuries of construction. Historically, the temple has been a significant center of learning. It played a crucial role in the development of Sri Vaishnavism traditions, particularly under the guidance of the philosopher Saint Ramanuja in the 11th century. The vision with the temple solidified its status as a key religious center for followers of that philosophy. The temple's rich legacy is also reflected in its extensive collection of inscriptions, which provide valuable insights into the history, politics, and economy of South India over several centuries. The Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple is the site of a number of festivals, the most famous being the annual Vaikunta Ekadasi festival. This 21-day event, which typically falls in December or January, attracts millions of people from across the country and abroad. During the festival, the temple is a riot of color and activity, with processions, music, and rituals. Number 14, the Temple of the Great Jaguar in Guatemala. The Temple of the Great Jaguar, also known as Temple 1, is one of the most iconic structures in the Mayan culture. The temple's 9 tiers are believed to represent the 9 levels of the underworld in Maya cosmology, reflecting the journey of the soul as it travels there. The steep stairway leading to the summit symbolizes the difficult path to the heavens, a journey that the king was believed to undertake, and at the top of the temple is a small chamber. The Temple of the Great Jaguar is part of a larger complex here in Tikal, which was one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient Maya. The city was a thriving metropolis, and Tikal's influence extended far beyond its surroundings, and the city's architecture reflects its status as a dominant force. Excavations here at the site have revealed much about the temple's construction and the culture that created it. It was built using locally sourced limestone and without the use of metal tools. The interior was decorated with intricate carvings and murals, many of which depicted scenes of royal ceremonies and religious rituals. Today, the temple is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Guatemala's most visited archaeological sites. It is a powerful reminder of Khmer architecture and a symbol of the empire's power. Each of the temple's 54 towers is carved with 4 smiling faces facing the directions of the compass, giving the temple an almost surreal appearance. These faces, believed to represent either the Bodhisattva or the king himself, radiate a serene, all-knowing expression that has become an iconic image of Angkor. The faces symbolize the omnipresence of the king, as well as the protective spirit watching over the Khmer Empire. The architecture here is a complex blend of religious symbolism and Khmer artistry. The temple's layout is a maze of corridors, galleries, and stairways, representing the complexity of the universe. Unlike other Angkorian temples, which are generally oriented east to west, Bayonne is aligned along the both cardinal and ordinal directions, reflecting a combination of Hindu and Buddhist cosmological ideas. There are carvings that provide unique glimpses into the period's culture, warfare, and religious practices. They're divided into 2 sets. The inner gallery, that shows mythological Buddha, is the focal point of the structure, and this central tower, surrounded by the towering faces, symbolizes Mount Meru, the center of the universe in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. The concentric galleries around it reflect a progression towards spiritual enlightenment. Number 12. Karnak, Egypt. The Karnak Temple Complex, located near Luxor in Egypt, is one of the most extraordinary religious sites from the ancient world. Covering an area of over 200 acres, Karnak isn't a single temple but a sprawling complex of sanctuaries, chapels, pylons, and other buildings. This sacred site was developed over a period of nearly 2,000 years, mainly dedicated to the Theban triad of Amun, Mut, and Khonsu, with Amun-Ra being the most significant deity that's worshipped here. The temple complex began during the Middle Kingdom around 4,000 years ago, but saw most of its construction and expansion under the pharaohs of the New Kingdom, particularly during the 18th and 19th dynasties. every pharaoh who contributed capitals. The sheer scale of the hall is breathtaking, and its ceiling, once covered, would have created an almost forest-like atmosphere of light and shadow. The columns are carved with hieroglyphic inscriptions and scenes depicting the pharaohs making offerings to the gods, testifying to the religious and political power of the temple. There are also several obelisks which are constructed by different pharaohs to honor the gods. The obelisk of Hatshepsut, one of the few female pharaohs of Egypt, stands out as one of the tallest in Egypt, originally reaching a height of 97 feet or 30 meters. This obelisk, like many others here at Karnak, is inscribed with texts glorifying the pharaoh and the divine. Karnak became a place of immense political significance and was a symbol of the power and authority of the pharaohs, who sought to legitimize their rule by associating themselves closely with the gods. Major festivals such as the Opet festival were held here, where the gods were paraded along the Nile to connect the temples of Karnak and Luxor. Number 11. Maison Carrée, and son-in-law of Emperor Augustus, to honor his two sons, Gaius and Lucius Caesar, who were adopted by Augustus and destined to be his heirs. The dedication on the temple can still be seen in an inscription which was restored in the 18th century. The original inscription was lost during the medieval period, but experts have been able to reconstruct it based on historical sources. Now, architecturally, Maison Carrée follows the Vitruvian principles of proportion and symmetry, which were central to Roman design. It's raised on a high podium, a common feature in Roman temples, emphasizing its importance and making it feel like a focal point in the cityscape of Nimes. The building measures approximately 85 feet or 26 meters long, 49 feet or 15 meters wide, and 56 feet or 17 meters high, and it's fronted by a deep portico with 6 Corinthian columns. These columns are particularly interesting for their elegance and the intricate acanthus leaf designs on them. The overall design is heavily influenced by Greek architecture, but it incorporates Roman innovations, such as the use of a single Zanbil, which is in the Khuzestan province of southwestern Iran, is one of the most well-preserved examples of an ancient ziggurat, which is a type of massive terraced structure that was central to the religious practices of Mesopotamian cultures. Built around 1250 BCE by the Elamite king Untash-Naparisha, Choga Zanbil is a lasting memory of the engineering capabilities of the Elamite civilization, which thrived in the region before the rise of the Persian Empire. The name Choga Zanbil translates to basket mound in the local dialect, in reference to the structure's shape, which resembles an overturned basket. The ziggurat was intended to be the centerpiece of a grand religious city that would unite the Elamite people under a single, centralized religious authority. With an original height of 170 feet or 52 meters, Choga Zanbil was built in a series of 5 terraced levels, each smaller than the one below it, creating a stepped pyramid effect. The base of the ziggurat measures 345 feet or 105 meters on each side, and the structure was made in ceremonies. The layout of the ziggurat and its surrounding complex reflects the Elamite cosmology, with the structure serving as a bridge between the earth and the divine, a place where humans could connect with the gods. Despite its size, Choga Zanbil was never fully completed. The construction of the ziggurat and its surrounding city was suddenly halted, possibly due to political upheaval. Nevertheless, what remains here is offering a fascinating glimpse into the religious and architectural style of the Elamite civilization. It had, though, remained mostly forgotten and buried under layers of earth for centuries until it was rediscovered by French archaeologists in the early 20th century. Since then, it's been recognized as one of the most important archaeological sites in Iran and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979, the first site in Iran to receive this recognition. Number 9. The Dambulla Cave Temple in Sri Lanka. The Dambulla Cave Temple, also known as the Golden Temple of Dambulla, is one of Sri Lanka's most revered cultural heritage sites. It uses murals and carvings that depict various aspects of Buddhist history and teachings, with the caves being carved into a massive granite outcrop that rises 525 feet or 160 meters above the plains. The first and largest one is called the Cave of the Divine King. It's got a massive reclining Buddha statue that measures 46 feet or 14 meters in length, along with several other statues of deities and kings, reflecting the intertwining of religious and royal authority in Sri Lankan history. The second cave, the Cave of the Great Kings, is the most impressive of the 5. It contains over 50 statues of the Buddha, as well as statues of the god Vishnu and Saman, and a number of other Sinhalese kings. The walls and ceiling of this cave are covered with intricate murals that show scenes from the Buddha's life, the Jataka tales, or stories of the Buddha's previous lives, and other important events in Buddhist lore. The third cave, or Great New Monastery, was added in the 18th century during the Kandyan period. It contains a large Buddha statue under the Makara Torana, or dragon. The monument, which is in the royal palace, is a piece of Egyptian history that doesn't show that the empire stretched far further than previously thought, but actually has been moved there from its original setting along the banks of the Nile. The temple dates back to the 2nd century BCE and was originally built in the village of Debad in southern Egypt, near the city of Aswan. It was dedicated to the god Amun and the goddess Isis, two of the most important deities in the ancient Egyptian culture. Over the centuries, the temple was expanded by later rulers, including the Ptolemaic dynasty and the Roman emperors Augustus and Tiberius, who added new structures and decorated the temple with reliefs and inscriptions. The temple's journey to Spain, though, began in the 20th century during the construction of the Aswan High Dam in Egypt. The dam, completed in 1970, threatened to submerge various ancient sites in Nubia, including the Temple of Debad, under the waters of the newly created Lake Nasser. In response to that threat, UNESCO launched an international campaign to save the monuments, and many countries contributed to that effort. There are original carvings and hieroglyphs, some of which depict scenes of the temple's original religious rituals and the gods to whom it was dedicated. Number 7. The Megalithic Temples of Malta. The megalithic temples of Malta are among the oldest and most remarkable structures in the world. These ancient temples, built between 3600 and 2500 BCE, are scattered across the islands of Malta and Gozo. The temples are constructed from massive limestone blocks, some weighing up to 20 tons, which were quarried, transported, and assembled by the temple builders. Despite the absence of metal tools and wheeled transport, the early Maltese people managed to create these monumental structures, displaying an understanding of engineering and construction. The architecture of the temples featured a series of semicircular chambers or apses connected by a central corridor. This layout is often described as resembling a cloverleaf or a figure 8 and is believed to have held significant symbolic meaning. As with many megalithic monuments, the temples were the oldest of these structures, dating back to around 3600 BCE. The name Gigantija means giant's tower and comes from the local legend that the temples were built by the giants due to the sheer size of the stones used. The temples are well preserved and provided valuable insights into the construction techniques and religious practices of the temple builders. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of offerings such as animal bones and pottery, suggesting that rituals involving sacrifices were conducted within these sacred spaces. The Tarxian temples, located on the main island of Malta, are another significant site, known for their detailed carvings. This complex consists of 4 interconnected temples, and its walls are covered with intricate reliefs depicting animals, spirals, and other symbols, which may have held religious or symbolic meanings. The site also includes a large stone altar and several statues, including fragments of a colossal figure believed to represent a deity or fertility goddess. Number 6. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent in Mexico. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, also known as the city's influence extended across Mesoamerica, and it became a hub for culture, commerce, and religious practices. The temple is the 3rd largest pyramid in Teotihuacan, following the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. It stands out, though, for its unique decoration, particularly the hundreds of sculpted stone heads that can be seen on the steps and sides. These carvings represent 2 distinct deities, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl and Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility. Quetzalcoatl, represented by a serpent's body and feathered crest, was a major deity in Mesoamerican religions, symbolizing the union of earth and sky, and was associated with wind, wisdom, and life. Tlaloc, shown with eyes and fangs, was equally important as the god who controlled rain and agricultural abundance, essential for the survival of the people. The temple's construction and its symbolic art reflects the complexity of the Teotihuacan society, which was highly segregated and deeply religious. The rulers likely used the temple to demonstrate their divine Emperor Hadrian. It served various functions throughout its long history, from a temple to all the gods to a Christian church, and now is a major tourist attraction and a symbol of Rome itself. The Pantheon we see today was not the first structure to occupy this site. The original temple was commissioned by Marcus Agrippa in 27 BCE during the reign of Augustus. However, that building was destroyed by a fire, and the present structure was commissioned by Hadrian, who, in a display of modesty, retained Agrippa's original inscription on the facade, which translates to mean Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, consul for the 3rd time, built this. The most impressive feature of the Pantheon is its massive dome, which remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Nearly 2,000 years after it was constructed, the dome's got a diameter of 142 feet or 43.3 meters and is a perfect hemisphere, showing the Romans' advanced techniques in concrete construction. The oculus, a 30-foot or 9-meter wide circular opening at the dome's apex, has allowed for its preservation over the centuries. The Pantheon's interior, too, is majestic, the rotunda being encircled by 7 niches which originally held statues of the Roman gods, and the floor is paved with a pattern of multicolored marble sourced from across the Roman Empire. In 609 CE, the Pantheon was consecrated as a Christian church dedicated to Saint Mary and the Martyrs, which is a function it still serves as today. This conversion likely saved the building from the fate of many other Roman structures, which were abandoned or stripped of their materials during the Middle Ages. Throughout its history, though, the Pantheon has influenced countless architects and artists across the world, such as the Dome of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City and the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. The Pantheon remains the perfect example of Roman ingenuity, reflecting the empire's achievements in architecture, engineering, and art. Number 4. The Shaolin Temple in China. The Shaolin Temple, located in the Henan province of China, is one of legend. Bodhidharma arrived at the Shaolin Temple after traveling across the Himalayas and is said to have meditated in a cave near the temple for 9 years. His teachings laid the foundation for Chan Buddhism, which focuses on meditation, personal experience, and the realization of enlightenment through rigorous practice. In addition to its religious significance, the Shaolin Temple is linked to the development of martial arts, particularly Shaolin Kung Fu. This connection began when, according to legend, Bodhidharma noticed that the monks at the temple were physically weak from long periods of meditation. He introduced a series of exercises that eventually evolved into a comprehensive martial arts system. Over time, these practices became the basis of the Shaolin Kung Fu, which combines physical training, mental discipline, and spiritual development. Its past, though, has also seen periods of decline and destruction. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, the temple suffered from political persecution and several attacks, leading to the loss of many historical records. But despite the challenges, the temple has magical discoveries of the 20th century and is widely seen as the world's oldest known temple complex. Dating back to as early as 9600 BCE, it predates agriculture and the establishment of permanent human settlements, and has, therefore, challenged previous assumptions about the origins of civilization. With the name meaning Potbelly Hill in Turkish, it's a series of massive stone structures made up of circular and oval-shaped enclosures that have been built from large limestone pillars. These pillars, some of which are up to 20 feet or 6 meters tall and weigh as much as 20 tons, are carved with detailed images that show animals such as lions, snakes, boars, and birds. The discovery in 1990 by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt has revolutionized our understanding of the Neolithic era. Before this discovery, it was believed that complex religious and societal structures only emerged after the development of agriculture, which provided the necessary resources to support specialized religious activities. However, Göbekli Tepe, which predates known examples, excavations have uncovered only a fraction of the structures, with several layers of the site still buried. Ongoing research continues to reveal new aspects of this place, promising to further deepen our understanding of the people who built it and their role in the broader narrative of human history. Number 2. Ganjoji, Japan. The Ganjoji Temple, located in Nara, Japan, is one of the oldest and most historically significant Buddhist temples in the country. Originally founded in the 6th century, it played a critical role in the establishment of Buddhism in the country, and it remains a symbol of the cultural transformations that took place during the Asuka and Nara periods. Its origins trace back to the Asuka period, which was a time when Buddhism was first being introduced to Japan from the Korean peninsula and China. The temple was initially founded as Asukadera in 588 CE by Sogono Umaku, a powerful member of the Soga clan, who were the early proponents of Buddhism in Japan. The original temple complex included a massive pagoda, several halls, and a variety of shifted to other regions. Many of the original buildings were lost over the centuries due to fires, earthquakes, and neglect, but the temple has undergone several restorations. Today, it's a much smaller complex than it was during its peak, but it remains the site of great historical significance. Visitors here can see remnants of the past, including the surviving wooden beams from the Asuka period, stone pagodas, and roof tiles dating back over 1,000 years. The temple is also home to important cultural artifacts, including statues, sutras, and other religious items that provide a glimpse into the early history of Buddhism in Japan. Number 1. Borobudur in Indonesia. Borobudur, found in central Java in Indonesia, is one of the most magnificent Buddhist monuments in the world. Built in the 9th century, it's a huge structure which has stood for over 1,000 years, and it continues to attract pilgrims and tourists from around the world. It's often described as the largest Buddhist temple in the world. It's a massive step pyramid made of approximately 200 steps. Humans can transcend desire through meditation and wisdom. And the upper level, representing the formless world, the realm of the divine. As visitors climb the temple, they follow a path that spirals upwards through these levels, symbolically moving closer to enlightenment. The journey begins at the base, where a series of hidden reliefs show scenes of human life dominated by earthly desires and suffering. Above this is the middle level, where the walls are covered with over 1,400 narrative panels that illustrate the life of Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, as well as stories from the Jataka tales, which recount the Buddha's previous lives. The uppermost level of Borobudur is made up of 3 circular terraces, each lined with stupas, which are small bell-shaped structures that house statues of the Buddha. The central stupa at the top of the temple is the largest and symbolizes the ultimate state of enlightenment, or nirvana. This final stage of the ascent represents the formless, transcendent reality that lies beyond the physical world. Borobudur